right. How are we doing on this Thursday? You excited? You in a good mood? Yeah. Have your coffee. It was a great day yesterday. I caught some of the panels here at Radiodays, which was awesome. I'm kind of bouncing between Departure and Radiodays, but we have our very first session here in the Humber Park Room, from digital dimes to digital riches, because we all want to be richer. It's taken a 15-year commitment, but the future is now at Townsquare Media, where 52% of revenue now comes from digital sources. Our moderator is Andrew Johnson, and I'll have him come up and maybe introduce his panel.
Hey, good morning. I understand. Hey, thank you. I understand that it's 8 in the morning and we're all tired. My name is Andrew Johnson. I'm the content director for Chime 96.7 and Country 106.7. This is Digital Dimes to Digital Riches. And the guy I'm going to bring up right now is a fantastic person who I'm learning a lot about and has promised that he's going to give me and everyone else here the secret sauce on how to make digital riches. This is Kurt Johnson. He's the Senior Vice President of Programming, and let's give a round of applause. Townsquare Media.
Good morning. Glad you were all here and mostly awake, myself included. Some of your fine compatriots took me out last night. We had a mighty fine time. I don't see them in the room. They're all resting. But yes, we can switch over to my thing. We're ready. I don't know who's doing that. Anyway, really glad to be with you this morning. I'm Kurt Johnson. I started in radio when I was 14 years old, and I was a DJ forever, and then a program director, and then on up and up and up, and eventually working for CBS Radio in Dallas, Texas, having a fine life in Townsquare, called this company out of New York, and they said, we're going to reimagine how radio's done, because back in those days when iPhones were brand new, and and Facebook was pretty brand new in the 08, 09 era. They said, this is going to change, and revenue flow is going to change, and here we are today. So I am mighty glad that we got a 15-year head start to where we are right now, and so I'm excited to share some things with you this morning. I was in Key West last weekend for the BMI Songwriters Festival, which, if you're into music, I highly recommend. It's a fabulous event they hold every year. And I thought about you all while I was down there, because I said, oh, what's the weather going to be in Toronto? So I looked. I said, yeah, that's good. And then I stopped thinking about you because, well, I was in Key West. So, but I love Key West because of the history of it. You got Ernest Hemingway's house is there. You got, Jimmy Buffett's history is all there, and Harry Truman had the little White House down there. It's just a fascinating historical place. But at the same time, you're immersed in all the brand new music that BMI is championing, and I love that, and I love the way that kind of frames this conversation. I was thinking about it when I was heading up here. That radio really, traditionally, it's where we started. It's where I started. And then as the world changed, there's new ways to consume music, news, information, weather, all of it. And now we have these multiple platforms. So radio and digital are really intertwined now. I mean, it's say the horse out of the gate is not even putting it correctly, because this is where our listeners are, where radio's listeners are. They're on their mobile devices, they're on their computers, they're consuming so much information and so much of it there that we have to be there. And that was really, where we started. So I'm a enthusiast of connecting with people. That's basically what drives me. And when we have a better tool to do that, I'm going to be about that. Whenever I was at the radio station and there was a new way to connect with people, a new way to do a promotion, a new way to make money at it, I was all about that. My first job in the business was gotten when I was 14 years old at the local radio station. I kept bugging them to put me on the air, and they said, get away, kid. And finally they said, to get rid of me, they said, if you can sell a sponsorship, we'll give you a Sunday afternoon show. Done. I ran out, went over to the record store where I hung out, the electronics store, got a couple of sponsorships, and walked back into the station. They said, "A deal's a deal. You're on the air." And I said, "Copy that." And that just kind of moved me forward. So when Townsquare came along and said, "There's a new way to reach listeners," I'm like, I'm in. And so that's the famous story is, that half our revenue is now digital, and that's growing. And I'm glad to be where we are. So I just want to share with you some of the thoughts of not only how digital is really a completely different way to reach people, but it's also got so many similarities to radio and what we've done for so many years. So a lot of you in this room, I'd say most of you are coming from radio, you're figuring out digital or you're already into it. So let's just talk about how it's kind of the same and kind of different. It's a big opportunity. Radio still has huge reach. This is famous. These figures are United States figures, so they may vary up here. But huge daily reach. The 66% figure includes teenagers, in case you're wondering. Because almost every reach figure, they say, wow, those people are all over 50 years old. So these figures that I'm showing you are all ages. Like I said, timeless connection and community. Townsquare is in all in markets outside the top 50, and it's not uncommon to have morning shows that have 20 shares, and they're figures in the community. Andrew and I were just talking about this, how you can show up at an appearance and, they're celebrities, and you got to remind them of that. You're important. This is huge. So when you take that and put that online, it's really, really powerful because of that. And the growth opportunity is so huge because it's over $2 billion in revenue, but so many advertisers are not on it yet. So that's what we drive, and we're a solutions company for those advertisers. So in-car dominance is still huge, and all the things we talk about, sticky features, and all the things that make radio revenue are the things that make digital revenue. Like I said, 84% of ad-supported audio in the car, and you can say, well, that's ad-supported. But that figure is still really huge if you just take out the ad-supported part. Radio still is the #1 audio in cars. Younger end, yeah, they're listening to streaming. They're listening to podcasts. They're doing a lot of different things. But radio is well positioned, as we have 90% reach across all demographics every week in the United States. And smart speakers, when they came along, radio pretty quickly became the main audio source on there. And it's all driven by content and personalities. And those personalities engender trust, and that is so much of what we do online. So we're really well positioned. I love this picture. This is a picture of Collins Radio Shop at 319 South San Bernardino Avenue in Burbank, California. The date is September 23, 1926. And these people are all gathered around the Collins Radio Shop to hear one of the first national radio broadcasts, which was the Jack Dempsey, Gene Tunney fight. You may be familiar with this picture. And you see they're all gathered around and they're all listening. And the other thing I love about this picture is in the lower left there, you see a couple of guys, and they're looking at the camera. So they were photobombing even back then. But the point here is that radio is like the original social media. So if you think about digital in that sense, it's not as huge a jump from radio as you might think. The methods, everything we do is different in it. But at the same time, it's really where people go to get information, where they gather, and radio is really well positioned to be in that. Content rules because of the connection. And whether that's online or on air, on social, whatever you're doing, whatever platform, connection is everything. Local is huge. Radio's big advantage is local. And the same thing happens with you online. You want to be where people go to find out what's going on in your town. In our markets, we are the source of information for a lot of people. And that helps us, that helps our advertisers get their message to people. It helps every part of the ecosystem. And so the content does engage people all across all platforms, and it's the foundation for all of this. So I'm going to really, if you want to know how to make money at digital, let's really, my job is content, and if you build the content right, it's hard to get out of the way of the money. It's really a great, it's a thriving and growing business. How much growing? These are the latest figures that were published a couple of weeks ago of digital revenue in the United States. During COVID, it was 19.1% of revenue, and it's risen already up to 24%. and I think that's going to just keep rising. You can see 2.9 billion is nothing to sneeze at, and a quarter of all total revenue is just massive. So let's talk about it a little bit. Maximizing the online content, your social media, all of it is about feeding the ecosystem so that you can drive revenue. Content is at the base of it. Search traffic. You've got to drive people to search for your content. That means it's got to be compelling and sticky and all of the words that we use. And that grows trust. This is no different than radio, right? You had all the different ways to build trust in your brand, and now you need to do that with your online content, and your personalities drive that. You can monetize that to a great extent, as we just saw in the last slide. It's really where people are and why so much revenue is moving over there. And the on-air content can tie to it. If you construct your on-air and your online, it really works together. And the online content, Andrew's shaking his head, we were talking about this right before the session. It really is, it's all just reaching people. And the principles, you've got to learn the content principles to really, the online principles and social media principles to capitalize that and to make sure that you are where those people are and that they're sticking to your content. This just couldn't be more important to maintain relevance in this age. This is where your listeners are. They're on their phones constantly. You're on your phones constantly. So really what you want to do is observe how you use media online and then start thinking about the offerings that you're offering. Can they use it the way you're using it? There's a lot of great ways to do this. Local is just couldn't be more important. You know, by the way, 20 minutes from now, you're not going to go, I got this. I'm just going to do this all. We're going to go through this really quick. But I do want to cover principles that have made the difference and that you see working. So just look at what, and as you're going through these, if I don't mention it, think what are the similarities between radio and the contrasts from radio. Should be skimmable. Think of how quick you scroll. You better grab them in a second, right? Radio's had the same thing. If you don't catch them, if you don't start that break right away and get to the point, you're going to lose them. PPM really showed that in radio, and you really see it online, obviously. Headlines. You got to make your SEO great. If you don't know what SEO means, you got homework. It's vital to how people find you. On air or online, that's the ecosystem, right? And that's where we come from. That's where we started, and that's how you really build audience online. And it really should, there are things you do differently online. There are things you do the same as on air, but you have a station voice for your top 40 or your talk or your rock station, and you want to make sure you're thinking about that. Same internal linking, going between your things that you have on your website or your socials or whatever is the same as cross-promoting the midday show from your morning show, those kind of things. Make it interesting. You include audio clips and so forth on there. You do the same thing with your posts online. Think about what is really topical and what is evergreen and use them appropriately. Use them in the right place. Use them when you need them. Make sure you're thinking about mobile phones. How long should the post be? All of it. You want to make sure that you've got that. You've got to make sure you think about where it's going, just like you do with the radio. Where are they using this show? Are they using it at work? Are they just using it in the car? Do they just listen weekends? All of it's a similar idea. Call to action. There's really kind of pointless if you don't ask them to do something. So what's that going to be? Think about that. Stats and quotes, if you're doing an informational piece. Local mentions, keep your frame. If you're just doing national, that's fine. We have thriving national sites that are huge. All of our music sites, Taste of Country, XXL, Ultimate Classic Rock, Loudwire, all of them do a great job. They're not local. They're local to that format, though, so it's a different community. Graphics, just anything to spice it up and make it really great. But you have to put a lot of time and thought into it. I'm going to give you some sources later where you can go look and find out some best practices on these things. And posted content. That's the fire. It's the engine that's driving revenue and pushing things forward. And socials. Again, it's a way to reach people, but you have to consider what is that. It's what points people in the direction of your content. And It amplifies your voice. Obviously, you're reaching people in a moment, and whether you're using Reels, or you're doing a TikTok post, or you're doing a Facebook post that's more in depth, whatever it is, it's going to amplify your voice. So make sure you have thought through exactly what it is you want to achieve with it. So it's a pretty powerful tool, and like any powerful tool, you want to take the time and make sure you learn it. We have spent a lot of time working on these tools, trying things, failing fast, seeing what worked, seeing what didn't, evolving. And the thing for radio people that's a big adjustment is you walk into work at a radio station, and ratings has been the same for a long, 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 long time. The biggest innovation was PPM that came along about 2008, and it's been the same since then. Some differences, the 3-minute qualifier, that kind of thing. But diary methodology has been around forever and continues to be. So when you walk into work at a radio station to get ratings, it's the same job, getting ratings. Digital changes constantly. It's constantly evolving as new things are learned. Now you have AI entering into it. How is that going to play into it? We'll touch on that a little bit later, and how you use it and how it can be a positive. Where there's a lot of anxiety about it. I saw an article yesterday. That's understandable. You hear a lot of the scary things about it and replacing people and this and that. AI is a tool. AI is something you can use to enhance all this content that you're creating. And like any other job, it can really enhance the things. So it's all about constructing great posts. I hate to oversimplify it, but think through the captions, any links that you're doing, the visuals, the angles of the articles. Do you do multiple angles? Do you do multiple pieces? Like a great radio station, you weave all of those things together, and you constantly learn and you constantly evolve, and that's how you keep generating revenue with it. Ask people questions online. It's a great place to have conversations. Tease it from your radio shows. You have this huge platform. You're a host that has a loyal audience. Talk about it. Things like linking in your bio and on TikTok. All these, again, this is getting into the weeds a little bit, but there are so many different ways. The point that I want to leave you with on this slide is there are a lot of different ways to amplify your voice online and on social with your written content. They used to be called blogs. Now it's posts or articles. That's your website content, and then the social platforms that you can use in various ways. And you can't just copy another company that's doing it. You have to come up with your own way. The best way to do that is just to dive in and do it. There's multiple ways to do it. They all have impact. You can just quickly look at the slide and see every different platform that you use has been shown to increase your audience in varying amounts. And it depends on what you're trying to achieve online, just like with a radio station. So I find the similarities fascinating at the same time that digital has to be considered different because it's an entirely new way to reach people. And the dialogue and the engagement and the quick response you get from people you just can't do that at radio. But if you combine them together in a smart way, you have a great thing. So there's some big takeaways that are really important to consider as you do this. Belonging. People love to belong to groups. So you think about Facebook groups, you think about X Spaces and everything that you can think of. There are communities on all these platforms. You want to make your site a community where people come to learn about your community, be that a town or a music format or whatever it is. You've got to build a community of people there, and you deepen your loyalty through that. You put those together, listening to the radio, engaging in your online content, and that brings you revenue. You can monetize that in so many different ways. And the key to it is really connecting on an emotional level. That has to do with authenticity and being real and being true to your brand. Again, sounds very similar to radio, right? People, Andrew and I were talking about morning shows and how you can see people feel like they know them. They're part of them. They got to have that in the morning. And if the host is on vacation, something's missing. They can't wait for him to get back. Same principle online. You want it when they go to that site, when they go to those socials, they should know what to expect from your brand. So you got a lot of strengths. I think a lot of people focus on what's missing, and you should focus on what your strengths are. You have a lot of them. You've got so many aspects and keys to your brand that you build online, and you want to be true to those. All the video that you see online, think about what that is for you, and you want to own it. Be the person that owns that and stands for something. You can clip your best on-air stuff and put it online. You can create new stuff and just get in there and see what works. You can get instant feedback on it and just keep adapting and keep growing. All these things. I mean, they're all just kind of variations on the same theme. But once you get it there and once you work it, you can monetize it multiple ways repeatedly. So talent is really where it's at. The people, the local hosts, and you really have to make sure that that your talent is creating. We have hundreds of content creators at Townsquare that every day, right now, they are creating great content, and they are driving that, and that just drives that audience level up. And pretty soon, people start to notice, but they come in every single day with a focus. And it's not just something that you do on the side. It's not something you do, at the end of your to-do list. It'll show if you do that. But if you really walking the walk and you go to that station site and you take a look, it's like, wow, I know what that person thinks about what's going on in this town or in this music or whatever. People have a high bar online, and you have to deliver. And that engenders trust. And so when you package it all together, that's just great. It's fantastic revenue. And trust, targeting, all of it. So there you go. It's just you have your metrics, measure them constantly, test, see what's working, see what's not, convert those people to fans, and you'll have the audience levels that you need to monetize. So how do you get started, right? It may seem like, when Townsquare started, this train was starting to move out of the station real quick, and it was like, you're going to jump on or you're not? Now it might seem like there's an express train going by the platform, like, how do I get on there if you're not into it? By the way, some of you may be way into this, and hopefully you pick up some points out of this. I've taken this from a very basic level. My understanding is that the people that are going to be in the room are really looking to kind of develop this and get at it. So I don't want to leave anybody out of the conversation. So I'm speaking very elementary, but there's so much going on right now. It's changing. Don't worry about it. Jump on the train. Get going. Find whatever starting point and move, because that train is moving faster and faster. It's not going to move any slower. So it's talent creation. Just get in there, adapt, try. You're going to find as you get into it that some things work, some things don't. Something works today, it doesn't work tomorrow. The people who really live this life are the influencers or the YouTubers that you see, and suddenly something's working for 3 days and it stops working. It's like, why did it stop working? Well, they changed the algorithm. Okay. And it's a wild world, where, as I said, radio's been steady for all these years, and the way you get listeners is the same. The platforms keep changing them, so just pick one and dive in and go. So the key points are, radio's got great strengths. Digital is growing so rapidly. You can combine those, and you've really got something to work with. It's an exciting world. It's a fast-moving world. Content is always at the root of it. That's what attracted me into the business. I didn't know it when I was 10 years old listening to the radio, or 14 years old when I got my first DJ job on the air, but I was into content. I was fated to do this because I could not stay away from it. I just loved it. And you need a team of people that just does. And we certainly do at Townsquare, and really fortunate to work with them. They're just the greatest at what they do. So there are places you can go. That you'll get this, and I'm sure there's going to be a follow-up on the site or something with these. But these are great sources where you can learn a lot of the stuff we talked about today. And that's a lot. I do a lot of that on the side. A lot of people that are really into this. It's just like any undertaking. If you're on radio or if you're in music, and you've just got to dive in and do your research. These are just some really great sources to learn more. And a lot of them don't have the exact answer you're looking for, but they spring ideas. All of a sudden you see that's where we need to go with our thing, and this can, there's an idea on there. So encourage you to look at those or any other site. Just dive in and start learning it. So it really is. It's not the future, really. It's now, as I think they put in the title of this session. The future is now. It's happening. And the quicker you get on it, the better you do. So that's a quick run through how Townsquare got here over 15 years. Yeah, thank you. And I'd love to have a conversation, or find out what your ideas are, or where you are on this stuff. And we've got time to do that. So if anybody's got a question about where
Yes.
you are, I'd love to hear where you're at and what you're trying to accomplish.
Test.
Andrew, why don't you?
I jump. I think there's one person right there, and then I'll jump in because I have a question for you as well. We can have a sit down if you'd like.
Check 1 2. Yes, good day. Quick question. We certainly demand a lot of our on-air talent. They have, 5 jobs. And if we are going to go to them and say, hey, we want you to do blog posting and things like that, we're asking them to do more work on top of more work. Do you have tools that you use, either, AI or other, that take on-air content and translate it into blog posts automatically, or are you actually having the staff members, do the on-air bit and then type it out for the website?
I'm really glad you touched on that, because I meant to, and shouldn't surprise me that was the first question, because AI is everywhere all the time. AI cannot create original stuff. You can use it as a tool, but and you should experiment with it and see what works. But I think it's great for research. I think it's great for idea generation, but then you need to write. You got to write the content, and you have to create it. But it can certainly save you a lot of time. I think that it's a fantastic assistant. Like thinking of it as the assistant, we used to have more assistants on our radio staff and people to help us get things done. I know just, when I took a job in Dallas about, 20, 25 years ago, there were assistants for all the departments. Obviously, it's a different day today, but AI can be a tremendous assistant for you. So I would study up on that and find the ways that it can save you time so that you can focus on creating content, which is what we're here to do.
I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Where do you see this digital landscape developing in the next 5 years in regards to radio?
More, I think it will continue to connect with more and more people. I think that radio is developing that area. Townsquare certainly has been in all in on it for 15 years and growing. And I think that you will see first of all, it's evolving in ways that none of us know. Because if you'd asked me that question 5 years ago, I don't know that I could have accurately told you now. But one thing I do know is you need to dive in, because you won't be able to be where, skate to where the puck's going, right? Shout out. Okay, so but it's the truth. You have to, unless you're in the game and you're working on it and trying and experimenting with things, you don't know where it's going. But once you get into it, you start to recognize the patterns, and you can start to figure out and anticipate things. But as I said, it's constantly evolving and constantly changing. So I think anybody says this is where it will be in 5 years, we'll come back in 5 years and see. I think everybody's developing it, and we certainly have been diligently working at it every day at Townsquare to make sure that we're where it's going, and that is working.
So in Canada, we don't have Facebook or Instagram anymore. Probably a good thing. You talk about the core of social media in terms of this sort of promotion. For so many of our community radio stations, they developed a presence on Facebook that was really important. What strategies would you advise in terms of pivoting away from some of those platforms? Obviously, TikTok is a big one. How do you change your content providing? How do you change the message to be increasingly effective on the alternate platforms? What do you think about that shifting landscape?
Well, if you don't have them, you don't have them. So you just use the platforms you do have. And radio is obviously, for promoting it, is great and should be used. And then your online content that just has to, is on its own, and you got to talk about it on here, and you've got to make that content so compelling that people find it. I think that kind of answers the question. So that I understand, I don't know that I know the Canadian landscape for media. in that area. So no Facebook.
So in
no
regards to
linking.
news stations,
Yeah.
they've been blocked out, but
Yeah.
FMs that deal with entertainment can still use Facebook and Instagram.
And so okay,
Yeah.
but news stations, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's yeah, and you see a lot of the social media platforms doing that. They want to keep people where they are. So sometimes that's what you just hit me the point. I mean, one day you woke up and there's no now there's no Facebook. What do I do? That's the digital world. You have to just kind of adapt and figure out ways. That's um, a constant thing with digital in the United States. We just as things adapt and change, we get together and figure out exactly where we go from there and what tools do we have and what's working, and we just proceed from there. I don't mean to give you a non-answer there, but I don't, if you don't have it, you don't have it, and you just need to find other ways to point people to that content.
I think we have someone in the back.
First and foremost, I think the core of the discussion here this morning is spot on, that content is king, and people in radio understand content arguably better than anyone else. So being able to repurpose that content to reach more people is huge. What I'm curious about is, how do you at Townsquare convert that into the dollars? Are there people who are still just buying radio? Are there people who are just buying digital? Are you combining things? What are the products that you're offering, and what is the compelling ask that is convincing advertisers, sponsors, partners to want to work with you?
Well, we have quite a variety of them. You can, if you'd like to buy some advertising, our digital sales team will be happy to talk to you. I can give you your number. You just come up afterwards. Yes, and the answer to you said, is it or? It's yes, all of it. Our job is to be a digital marketing solution for our clients, and whatever way that we can do that, we are doing that and learning to do that. And we've evolved it and kept pace with what is working and what advertisers are asking for. What advertisers are asking for keeps evolving, and so I'm more on the content side, and so I'm just making sure that our teams are on it and creating all the content that matters, so that we have an audience size that's appealing to advertisers, and it's happening. And as I said, our content teams are fantastic. So a lot of times, so much of it is there are a variety of ways, just like on a radio station where you could sponsor anything that's on the air. You can create a feature. Anything that's online, you can shape and create so that it's appealing. But if you just scan sites and look at you can see what's being sold and how, and there are ad networks and all kinds of things and ways that you can access that. And then once you get involved with that, you start to see, okay, here's the kind of content we need to create to drive that. But really, the content is about reaching people and connecting people and building trust and building mass and all of that. And once you have those people, that's the whole essence of media, is monetizing that, and there are a variety of ways to do that. And Townsquare has a whole suite of tools and great people that manage it, and it's
I think it's also the immediacy of things. When you look at radio, and we've looked at radio for immediacy, we need things happening right now. We have it. When most of us wake up, the first thing we grab, I grab my glasses. And then I grab my phone, and it's immediately I'm starting to scroll. I'm getting my news content. I'm getting my entertainment. I'm finding out what happened in the world while I was sleeping. So that immediacy is what you can sell.
Yeah, very true. Yeah, it's it's right now, the nature of how it's consumed online is what's so exciting. And it's 24/7. I mean, during the pandemic, when no one was getting in their cars and going to work, we have station branded apps. So, and I get notifications from all of them, from hundreds of stations. So my phone's going off constantly. And a lot of the stations at 7 or 7:15 in the morning, there'd be a notification to the many, many people who have downloaded them. We have huge listener bases that have downloaded these in our markets. And so thousands and thousands of people are getting a note saying, hey, the mayor's going to be on at 7:30 talking about what's open today. Or, hey, we're going to tell you what stores have opened or what the new rules that the city has are. The immediacy of that is simply, you couldn't find a better example of proving that. And it was, those people normally would have heard that stuff on the car on the way into work, but they weren't for months and months and months. And that really increased, it just showed the importance of it and how being in that space and being on those platforms is a difference maker. So now, thankfully we're not in a crisis situation
And
like
the
that,
immediate
but they're still using
gratification
it.
too, right? You can see how many likes you have, how many comments you have, how many people are engaging with your host, right? So that immediacy in itself is something that can also be sold. You have tangible numbers to then take back.
Kurt, your company operates in a lot of small and medium-sized markets. In those markets, to get that content and to get that information that's going on, do you partner with any of the local media?
Any what?
Of the local media, other media?
Well, in a lot of cases, in the small and medium markets, our people are the source of information. There are fewer newspapers than there were, fewer TV stations in some cases, or TV stations with fewer resources. And so in those markets, radio is really the heartbeat. And we take that really, really seriously. And so we take our resources and organize them so that we can be the information provider. And a lot of times, people are feeding off of us for our information. But what we've done is really people who might have were just being music DJs and were really good at it have now become really good at creating content that informs people because it's different how you inform people online and the ways that you do it than what you do on air. Just like there's a way to connect with people on the air. There's a way to build that information piece so that people are really glued to it and they get it and they trust it. And that's what our people work on every day. So we really do create our own. And there's a lot of radio stations for years have used the TV anchor for the morning news or whatever. We really create our own, which is a really important part of our business.
Kurt, thank you for coming today. Really appreciate your presentation and knowledge. What are some of the better AI companies that Townsquare uses in your toolbox, in your AI toolbox? So what are some of the companies that you would recommend to us?
We really are we're using it the way you do with the open AI and the platforms and learning new agents and codings and tools that we can use in building tools. And I think everybody's in that phase right now. There are vendors that are coming with commercial writing AI and show prep AI and all those things that I think are coming now. Those are in very early stages, and there's some interesting ones. And we look at all of those, but as I said, we prefer to create our own, and are developing those. And those tools. I mean, every week, every month, it's developing so fast, and it's going to be fascinating if we sit down and talk here in a year. Or where it's going to be and what kind of tools are available. But AI is just developing at such an incredible rate, and rather than fear it, you want to use it as a tool. And I like to say that AI is what it is, but there's AI and then there's human intelligence. And if you add human intelligence to AI, you have real intelligence. You can't just say AI is running it, and people, all the people saying, well, AI is going to take over everything. Well, that's kind of a broad statement. I prefer to think there's ways that we can use it to stay ahead of the game, and are developing those. So you will see vendors coming out with AI agents, which is where it's all going to go. There'll be specific, just like you would have a specific staff member that does work that you may not have anymore. Well, an AI could help you fill in that gap. And those are we're developing it in so many ways, but when it comes to content, we're creating that content with human beings. They've got to write it and think about what matters in the market that day, and just like they do on the radio. And I don't see that changing for radio. When you asked about the 5-year thing, I think human connection is still going to be incredibly vital and at the core of what we do. It's sometimes sounds bad to say the people are the most important thing, but they are. I don't know what else to say about AI. It has its place, and it's going to really revolutionize so many things. But at the end of the day, people are still going to create.
Got time for a couple more questions if there's any.
Yeah.
Thank you for coming. The title of your session is well named, Digital Dimes. One of the challenges a lot of radio operators are finding is the margins in digital are very skinny. You guys have been at it for a few years, so share with us some of the higher profit margin digital strategies that you're using, if you're willing to do so.
Well, again, I'm the content guy, so Bill Wilson just did our quarterly earnings call and all of that, and shares it does share a lot of times on there the things that are really showing, but on the content side, it is when you have the scale that we have with the network of people doing it, it adds up. It is you reach a larger scale because you just have so many people doing it, and that gives you opportunities to monetize across a lot of platforms. When you're a smaller operation, you need to find other networks to plug into to achieve that. But that's not us at Townsquare. We have a robust platform that reaches millions, and so it does add up. It was, I think the meaning of the title was Digital Dimes because that's where it started, and Digital Dollars is where it's at now. And certainly, as you can see in the slide, people are figuring it out. And I think in every situation, you're going to have to figure out, well, how do I broaden that margin, right? I mean, and those ways are coming. Interestingly, I think the new tools that are coming along are going to help us do that. But again, AI is not going to be like cranking out posts on your site or socials. If you do, it's just not original, and that's people are looking for original. So, yeah, you can get our head of digital sales was awesome to elaborate on that. But we have so many different platforms, honestly, because we started with the advertisers and what are the needs. So we developed a different tool for each one of those, and different platforms and different programs. And so our teams have a great suite to offer, and we're very proud to offer those solutions to our people. And yeah, they have varying margins, but it does all add up at the end.
So hiding over there. You talked about trying and failing, and I think that's a great sort of philosophy as we approach all this stuff. Could you share with us off the top of your head anything that you guys sort of tried and failed that you would recommend people not try to go down that particular road?
No, and I'll tell you why. Because you should. Like, I'm not going to save you that pain. You should do that. Because you can't Townsquare wouldn't be where it is if we hadn't tried those things. Like, that's what I'm telling you. Don't try to copy what we're doing or what somebody else is doing. Develop your own thing, but you've got to try each of them. You got to try video. You got to try podcasting. Try all of the avenues. Try YouTube channels. Try all these things. But you can now. What's emerging is you can see what's successful in each of those areas, so you can educate you on it and not spend 2 years learning it, where you could learn it in a couple of months and go, okay. But what you do have to do is start with your strengths. That's why I don't recommend one single thing you do. But I mean, if in the first years of the company, if there was a new way, considered the smart way, and we developed our plan and really dove into it, we were all in, and we would prove and fail it. And that was the thing for the radio people to adapt. Was as I said, Nielsen's been the same forever and ever and ever. Arbitron, just the same metric. You had one metric, basically, or CUME, TSL, it's just the same thing forever. And new metrics kept coming out, and the radio people would say, "What do you mean? I thought it was all about unique visitors. Now it's page views. What are we doing?" I said, "So okay, there's a way to do it. Let's do it." And we have a great team of people that helps our people develop. But as leaders, the really important thing is that you learn how this particular thing works, so that you can work with them and educate them and get feedback from them. So you have this team of people that's increasing their knowledge base. But really, I wouldn't recommend against anything. That's why I say I don't want to talk about the things we failed at. But if you look back through the history of digital, we're on a lot of those things. Some things we just skipped because it didn't seem to us. We said, it's like anything else. You say, well, we'll see if the money's there later, and it never came in those areas. And other things, we're like, well, some money did come, so we jumped in on it. Just figure out where the money's going and getting in front of it, and what platforms are really driving that, and how. Figure it out now, and by the time you figure it out, I guarantee you it'll change. But once you're in the flow, you're staying in tune with it. So I know we've been on we've had a really solid plan that's worked for years and years now, and in the recent years. But I assure you, it's evolving constantly as digital does.
I think that's it. My phone. There we go. Kurt, thank you so much for coming. I really appreciate that. Round of applause for Kurt Johnson.
Thanks. Good luck to you. Thank you, Carter. I appreciate it, man. Really good. Really good. Thanks. Really. Yeah, that's me. Yeah. Great. Hi. Hi. Whoops. I got to get untethered.